Good morning, students. So, I am Dr. Pramod Kumar Tripathi and I teach political science in RD Women's Junior College. So, today we will discuss about the first chapter in your syllabus, that is democracy. So, in that context we will have a detailed discussion on the meaning of democracy, the basic features of democracy, and thirdly the types of democracy, and fourth and most importantly the different challenges that that is confronted by democracy in India. So, let us have a discussion regarding the meaning of democracy. So, first of all, why we are discussing democracy? It is because democracy is considered not only as a political system, but also it has become a way of life for millions of people in the world. So, in modern times democracy has become so popular that each and every country claim themselves as a democratic country, and if you closely look at the democratic map of the world, it is increasing year after year. So, before the colonization or imperialism, you could find only few countries were democratic, but after the process of decolonization, after the end of the Second World War, there has been phenomenal increase of democratic countries in the world, and after the end of the Cold War, that is in 1991 afterwards, again democratic countries, their number increased phenomenally. And in this context, I would like to refer to one American scholar. His name was Francis Fukuyama. In his classic book, that is The End of History, which was published in the year 1992, Francis Fukuyama correctly referred this growing popularity of democracy as end of history. That means history has come to an end, but literally history has never come to an end, but he was referring to how democracy has declared itself its victory over dictatorship, that is specifically the communist dictatorship after the dismantle of Soviet Union and other communist countries in Western Europe. So, today you can easily find out there are more than 150 countries in the world which can be called as democratic. ତେଣୁ ଆଜିକା ଡେଟ୍ରେ ଆମେ ଦେଖିଲେ ଜାଣିବା ଯେ ଗଣତନ୍ତ୍ରର ପପୁଲାରିଟି ବା ଜନପ୍ରିୟତା ଦିନକୁ ଦିନ ବଢ଼ି ବଢ଼ି ଚାଲିଛି। ସେଥିଲାଗି ଗଣତନ୍ତ୍ର ଉପରେ ଆମର ଡିସ୍କସନ୍ ବା ଆଲୋଚନା କରିବା ଅନିବାର୍ଯ୍ୟ। ତେଣୁ ପ୍ରଥମେ ମୁଁ ତା'ର ମିନିଂ ବା ତା'ର ଅର୍ଥ ବିଷୟରେ କହିବି ଯେ ହ୍ୱାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଦ ମିନିଂ ଅଫ୍ ଡେମୋକ୍ରେସି। So, remember one thing, that democracy is not a modern form of government. You can trace the roots of democracy in ancient Greece, and because the word democracy itself has been derived from two Greek words. One is demos and the other is kratos. So, demos means people and kratos means rule or government or power, or even you can say capacity. So, if you join these two words together, you will get the meaning of democracy, that is democracy is the government or rule by the people. So, in this context also there has been a popular definition of democracy given by the former American President Abraham Lincoln in his 1865 address in United States. Abraham Lincoln popularly called democracy as a government of the people, by the people and for the people. Of course, it was not his original idea, it was given 500 years back by one Greek philosopher Cleon, but the idea of popularizing this definition definitely goes to Abraham Lincoln. ତେଣୁ ଆବ୍ରାହମ ଲିଙ୍କନଙ୍କ ଭାଷାରେ ଗଣତନ୍ତ୍ର ହେଉଛି ଏଭଳି ଏକ ସରକାର ଯାହାକି ଲୋକଙ୍କର ଲୋକଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଓ ଲୋକଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ଉଦ୍ଦିଷ୍ଟ। ତେଣୁ ଏଥିରେ ସବୁ ମୂଳରେ ରହିଲେ ଜନସାଧାରଣ। ତେଣୁ ଜନସାଧାରଣଙ୍କର ସରକାରକୁ ଆମେ ଗଣତାନ୍ତ୍ରିକ ସରକାର ବୋଲି ଏଠି କହିବା। ସେହି କଣ୍ଟେକ୍ସଟରେ ଆଉ ଦୁଇଟା ଡେଫିନେସନ୍ ମୁଁ କହିବି ଯେ another definition was given by Lord Bryce, the British statesman. He says that democracy is a form of government in which the ruling power of a state is legally vested not in any particular class, but in the members of the community as a whole. So, here Lord Bryce is referring that in democracy no particular class has the right to rule, rather it is the community as a whole which has the right to rule. तेणु एठी जनसमूहंकर अधिकार अछि शासन करियाकू, कोनोसे व्यक्ति विशेष एठी शासन करिवे नाही. सेमती आउ जने अनदर scholar, his name is John Seeley. He has given also a popular definition of democracy. He says that democracy is that form of government in which everyone has a share. तेणु गणतंत्र होची एभली एक सरकार जेउठी समस्तंकर अंश निहित थाए. यह होची सीलिंगर डेफिनेशन बा संज्ञा. तेणु एथरे से कहउचंती जे ईच एंड एवरी सिटीजन हैज गॉट देयर शेयर इन डेमोक्रेसी. So, may be in voting, or may be in contesting elections, or may be in criticizing the government, or may be in taking interest in political affairs. So, each and every citizen shows interest in politics. That is the definition given by John Seeley. So, if you combine all these definitions, you will find the crux of the meaning of democracy. That is, you can say, more simply put, you can say democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are chosen by the people and accountable to them. The people enjoy basic freedoms, including the freedom of expression, organization, and freedom to criticize the government. So, this is one of the simplest way of putting democracy in its right place. तेणु गणतंत्र सबुठ सिंपल बा सरल जदि किसी संज्ञा करा जाई पारे ताहा होची गणतंत्र होची एभळे एक राजनीतिक व्यवस्था, एभळे एक सरकार व्यवस्था जोठी कि जो शासक गण अच्छा से माने लोकों द्वारा चयन करा जाई थांती. तेणु मन इच्छा किए शासन करें ना. आउ से खाली सेतिक नुहे, रूलर बा जे शासक जी कि लोकों द्वारा चयन करा जाइथिबो से माने लोकों प्रति उत्तरदायी अटंती. से माने मन इच्छा कौन पदक्षेप नहीं पारे ना. तापरे आ गोटे बड़ जिनस हूँ गणतंत्र कौन ना, लोक मानकर एठी मौलिक अधिकार और स्वाधीनता रहिबो, जहाँकि मुख्यतः है एक्सप्रेशन बा मत व्यक्त करिवार अधिकार, संघ गठन करिवार अधिकार, आउ सरकार को समालोचना करिवार अधिकार. आउ कौनसी राष्ट्र रे आमे एई भली व्यवस्था देखिया को पाइबा नाही, केवल गणतंत्र ही देखिया को पाइबा. सेतिलागी गणतंत्रर पॉपुलैरिटी बा जनप्रियता दिन को दिन बढ़ी बढ़ी चली. सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द मीनिंग ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी. बट द रियल मीनिंग ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी विल बी मोर क्लियर if you go through the characteristics or features of democracy. तेणु आम गणतंत्र उपर आउ टिके गभीर धारणा आनिया हेले आमको गणतंत्र जो वैशिष्ट्य अच्छी सेगुड़िक उपर टिके आलोकपात करिया को पड़िबो. तेणु गणतंत्र मुख्य वैशिष्ट्य गुड़े कौन, व्हाट आर द बेसिक फीचर्स ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी. सो डेमोक्रेसी हैज गॉट ए नंबर ऑफ बेसिक फीचर्स, or you can say that if democracy is a building, then the building rests on certain pillars. So, what are the pillars of democracy? So, democracy has got a number of pillars. The first important thing about democracy is democracy has popular sovereignty. जन सार्वभौमत्व एटा हूँ बड़ जिनस गणतंत्र जे ये सार्वभौम क्षमता बा सर्वोच्च क्षमता कौन सी शासक पाखे रहेनी. ये सार्वभौम क्षमता सब बड़े जनता हाथ में थाए. So, here the rulers are not supreme, the people are supreme. The people can change the rulers, the people can bend the rulers, the people can also displace the rulers. Second important feature of democracy is political equality, राजनैतिक समानता. गणतंत्र रे हुए तो आमे अर्थनैतिक समानता देखिया को पाई न पारंती कि सामाजिक वैषम्य भी देखिया को पाइबा, किंतु गोटे जिनस सियोर बा गोटे जिनस निश्चित जे गणतंत्र रे राजनैतिक समानता रहिबो. सो इन डेमोक्रेसी political equality is there. That means there will be no discrimination among the people so far as political participation is concerned, because democracy believes in the principle of one man, one vote and one value system. So, one man, one vote, one value system is the basic norm of democracy. That means whether he is a rich or the poor, whether he belongs to a high caste or a low caste, whether he is an illiterate or a highly educated person, his value of vote is one. So, this is the basic another basic feature of democracy, that it believes in political equality. So the third important feature of democracy is rule of law, आईनर शासन. गणतंत्र रे सबले आईनर शासन रहे. So nobody is above the law. So what rule of law says? Rule of law says that nobody is above the law. Everybody, whether he is a powerful one, whether he is a rich one, or whether he has got a lot of qualification, or whether he is born to a higher caste, all are under the jurisdiction of the law. So this is about the rule of law. So law reigns, that means the law always rules, nobody is above the law. That is the another fourth feature of democracy. So third feature, sorry. So let us come to the fourth feature of democracy, that is majority rule. So in democracy, the majority opinion is always respected, because unless and until the majority agrees, no decision can be taken, because democracy is all about taking common decisions, and common decisions can only be arrived if majority people agree. तेणु संख्या गरिष्ठ शासन एटा होची गणतंत्र आउ गोटे वैशिष्ट्य. Now come to the fifth feature of democracy, that is democracy believes in tolerance, सहनशीलता. एठी गणतंत्र रे खाली मेजोरिटी बा संख्यागरिष्ठ मत को प्राधान्य देले चलिबनी. एठी संख्या लघु मतर मध्य सेमती तार इम्पोर्टेंस बा गुरुत्व रही. So minority opinion is also respected in democracy. So they are tolerated in democracy. So under democracy, if a political party loses election, that does not mean that the same political party will be crushed, it will be eliminated. No, the opinion of that opposition party is also given equal respect as the opinion of the ruling party. So that is known as tolerance. Now we come to the sixth feature of democracy, that is democracy believes in basic rights and liberties of the people. So this is another very important feature, because no other country in the world gives certain basic rights to the people except democracy. You go to China, you will lose all your basic freedom and liberties, because China is not a democratic country. Or if you go to these African countries, most of the African countries which rail under a dictatorship, you will find the loss of your freedom. So your freedom, your basic rights are kept intact only in a democratic country. Not only the freedom of expression, but also most importantly the freedom to criticize the government, the freedom to protest if the government takes any wrong decision, that is in the hands of the people in a democracy. तेणु गणतंत्र सबुठ बड़ जिनस अधिकार और स्वाधीनता, जोटा कि केवल गणतंत्र नागरिक मानक मिले. कौन से एक देश जोटी गणतंत्र नाही, सेठी ना लोकंकर कौन मौलिक सुविधा, मौलिक स्वाधीनता थाए ना मौलिक अधिकार रही थाए. Now we come to the another feature of democracy, that is free and fair elections. So under democracy, the leaders are, the rulers are chosen by the people, and how they are chosen? They are chosen through a mechanism of elections. तेणु निर्वाचन रे मोर नेता माने बा शासक कोण लोकंक द्वारा सिलेक्टेड होई थांती. तेणु से जो लोक माने जो भोट दे तांको सिलेक्ट करंती ताको आमे इलेक्शन बा निर्वाचन बोली कहू. ताले ए निर्वाचन हो जोटा प्रक्रिया, किंतु गणतंत्र रे निर्वाचन सबले फ्री एंड फेयर बा मुक्त अबाध होई थाए. सो हियर फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शंस मीन्स the voice of the people is respected through ballot, whether it can be open ballot or it can be secret ballot, but the ballot is more important and ballot is also powerful than the bullet. So here the people's opinion is respected, and in democracy under free and fair elections there is possibility that the ruling party may lose. So if the ruling party loses election, that is the guarantee that elections are held free and fair. So that is another feature. So we come to the another feature of democracy, that is responsible government, responsible दायित्ववान सरकार. So democratic government is always a responsible government. It is accountable to the people, because once it comes to power, it has to give a detailed list of its performance to the voters. Otherwise, in the next election, the voters will reject the political party and that leader. So the government has to be responsible, otherwise the people will throw the government out of power. तेणु गणतंत्र रे सबले शासक गोष्ठी लोकों प्रति उत्तरदायी रहिबे, नहेले लोके तांकु शासन रु विताड़ित करिदेबे. Last important feature of democracy is that in democracy the change of government is always done by constitutional means. सांविधानिक उपाय गणतंत्र रे सबले क्षमता परिवर्तन होता है. आज पार्टी एक्स पावर रे अच्छी काली हुए तो नेक्स्ट इलेक्शन रे पार्टी वाई पावर को आसीपे किंतु ये जो चेंज ऑफ गवर्नमेंट बा सरकार परिवर्तन आम देखुचे यहाँ शांतिपूर्ण आउ सांविधानिक उपाय होता है. कहीं ना गणतंत्र हूँ एभली एक सरकार एभली एक व्यवस्था जोठी बिना रक्तपात शासक गोष्ठी आ गोटे शासक गोष्ठी को क्षमता हस्तांतर करि थाए. सो टुडे द बीजेपी इज इन पावर, टुमोरो हु नोज another party may be Congress, it will occupy the seat of power. So this change of government will continue, but that change of government will occur without even a single bloodshed. So that is the basic theme of democracy, that change of government takes place, but that change of government is peaceful and constitutional. So these are the basic things that you must know regarding the meaning and characteristics or features of democracy, so that you can make a clear distinction between what is a democratic country and what is an authoritarian or non-democratic country. So now we will move to another basic thing, that is the types or kinds of democracy. So democracy can be broadly divided into, so you can find different types of democracy throughout the world, but basically we can have two types of democracy. One is direct democracy, the another one is indirect democracy. गोटे है प्रत्यक्ष गणतंत्र आ गोटे हूँ परोक्ष गणतंत्र. प्रत्यक्ष गणतंत्र को प्योर, the direct democracy is also known as pure democracy, and indirect democracy is also otherwise known as representative democracy, प्रतिनिधिमूलक गणतंत्र बोली कहा जाए. So here if you go back to the roots of democracy, you will find that in Greece there was a democracy, but that was a direct form of democracy. But today this direct form of democracy has become obsolete, and you can hardly find any country pursuing this direct form of democracy except Switzerland. And in Switzerland the people they follow this direct democracy, under which the voters or the people directly rule over themselves. So without any representative they can rule over themselves, that is known as direct democracy. So in Switzerland, let us discuss about the direct democracy. In Switzerland earlier they had a system which was known as Landsgemeinde. Landsgemeinde, which is a typical Swiss word. In English the meaning of Landsgemeinde is open sky assembly बा मुक्ताकाश सभा. तेणु आगुरी स्विट्जरलैंड रे 13th सेंचुरी रे से माने मुक्ताकाश सभा रे से माने ओपन बैलेट रे बा खोलाखोली समर्थन रे से माने आइदर किसी रूलर को सपोर्ट करथले किबा खोलाखोली से माने तांको विरोध भी करुथले, तांको मुक्ताकाश सभा बोली कहा जाए. आउ परे परे 13th सेंचुरी परे से माने धीरे धीरे तांकर मेकानिज्म बा डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी विभिन्न उपादान गुड़िक गढ़िया को लगिले. So today you will find in Switzerland they have got 4 important devices or mechanisms of direct democracy. So what are the 4 important mechanisms? The first one is referendum. Referendum है गण भोट. Second is initiative. Initiative होची गणोद्योग. Third is recall. Recall है प्रत्याहार. And fourth is plebiscite. Plebiscite है लोकमत. So let us discuss them one by one. So referendum means it is a system under which if the law is passed by the Swiss assembly, that law never comes into effect immediately. Rather it is sent to the people, it is referred to the people for their ratification. So the final verdict on the application of the law rests in the hands of the people. That is known as referendum. And referendum has got 2 types. One is compulsory, the second is optional. So compulsory referendum is followed in case of constitutional amendments, whereas optional referendum is followed in case of ordinary legislation. तेणु गण भोट हूँ एभली एक व्यवस्था जोठी कि थरे आईन पास हो गले सेटा लोकों पाख पठा जाए जे लोक से कौन मत दौरान. लोक जदि मेजोरिटी लोक ताकू हाँ बोली कहले ताले से आईनटा कार्यकारी हम, जदि मेजोरिटी लोक ताकू ना बोली कहले ताले से आईनटा कार्यकारी हम नहीं. सेटा हूँ रेफरेंडम. तापर आसूची इनिशिएटिव. इनिशिएटिव अर्थ है गणोद्योग गणोद्योग माने कौन ना हियर द पीपल कैन इनिशिएट दैट मीन्स द पीपल कैन take their own effort in drafting the law and they can send the law for the approval of the Swiss assembly. So, in India, suppose take the example of India, if you want to have any law, can you make that, or you can depend upon the parliament to draft that law. So, definitely we cannot make any law on our own, we have to depend on parliament to make that law. But in Switzerland the things are different. In Switzerland there is a system of initiative in which if the people feel the importance of making a law, they can easily draft a law and send it for the approval of the assembly. So, that is known as initiative. तेणु गणोद्योग हूँ एभली एक व्यवस्था जोठी कि लोक मैंने जब उपलब्धि कले से एक आईन आवश्यकता रही ताले से आईन एक चिठा प्रस्तुत करेंगे आउ सेटा को आसेम्बली को पठेबे तार अनुमोदन पाई ताकू गणोद्योग बोली कहुए. थर्ड हूँ रिकल. रिकल है प्रत्याहार. जदि कौन से एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव लोकंकर कौन से एक प्रतिनिधि निज काम ठीक भाव में सुचारू रूपे करिपारुना ताहले ताकू से स्थान रे रहिबार आवश्यकता नाही. तेणु ताकू प्रत्याहार करी आनिबार व्यवस्था इंग्लिश रे आमे कहूचे रिकल. सो रिकल इज ए मेकानिज्म टू विथड्रॉ दोज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हु फेल टू परफॉर्म देयर ड्यूटीज either or who are proved to be corrupt or inefficient, who cannot deliver goods to the people. So, those representatives are of no use. So, they should come back and in that place another representative can be sent. So, that is recall. You can imagine in India, do you have any power of recall? The answer is no, because once we have chosen a representative, that means he will continue for 5 years. But within that 5 years, if that representative proves to be inefficient or corrupt, or if he fails to deliver goods or keep his promises, do you have any control over him, or you have to wait for him for 5 years to teach him a lesson? Definitely you have to wait for 5 years, but this is not the case in Switzerland. In Switzerland, they can easily recall that representative who is a damn failure. So, this is another mechanism. And lastly, there is a plebiscite. Plebiscite जाको हम कहली जे लोकमत. So, plebiscite is similar to referendum, but under plebiscite, if the government faces any difficult question, it can put the question before the public to know the opinion of the public, whether the people support it or the people oppose it. If the maximum people support it, then the plebiscite is accepted. If the maximum people reject it, then the proposal is rejected. So, plebiscite is often used, and plebiscite is only advisory in nature, it is never going to be compulsory. So, these are the 4 important mechanisms, or you can say methods or devices of डायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी. तेणु प्रत्यक्ष गणतंत्र ये 4टी है मुख्य उपादान. तापर आम आसुचे इनडायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी बा रिप्रेजेंटेटिव डेमोक्रेसी, जोटा कि बहुत देश में प्रचलित, भारत में प्रचलित, अमेरिका, ब्रिटेन हो, फ्रांस हो, जर्मनी, बहुत देश अच्छी जोटा गणतांत्रिक देश. स्विट्जरलैंड को छाड़देले सबू देश में देखुचे इनडायरेक्ट बा प्रतिनिधिमूलक गणतंत्र प्रचलित. सो अंडर इनडायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी द पीपल इलेक्ट द रिप्रेजेंटेटिव and that representative rules the country on behalf of the people. That means the government is not formed by the people, rather the government is formed by the representatives of the people. And this has become mandatory because of large size of population, and because of complications and other difficulties in managing the affairs of direct democracy. तेणु जनसंख्या जेहेतु बढ़ी बढ़ी जाऊँगी से धीरे धीरे आम देखुचे इनडायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी बा परोक्ष गणतंत्र चाहिदा वृद्धि पाउची. से परोक्ष गणतंत्र पुणी 3 प्रकार. सो इनडायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी कैन बी पार्लियामेंटरी बा संसदीय, इनडायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी कैन बी प्रेसिडेंशियल बा राष्ट्रपतीय, इनडायरेक्ट डेमोक्रेसी कैन ऑल्सो बी मिक्सड. मिक्सड अर्थ है मिश्रित. सो in Britain and India, you will find the best example of parliamentary democracy, whereby the prime minister is the real ruler of the country, and the parliament is supreme. If you go to America, you will find the presidential type, where the president is head of the state and also head of the government, and the parliament or their congress has got limited power, and president's power is more. and there are also few other countries which follow a mixed pattern of parliamentary and presidential, that is you can say France for example, Sri Lanka our neighboring country. So these are certain countries which follow a mixed pattern of parliamentary and presidential system. So this is about the types or kinds of democracy. Let us come to the more crucial aspect, that is different challenges to democracy in India. So let me tell you that we have experimented with democracy since independence. So few scholars they cast aspersions on the success of democracy in this country by saying that India is so divided on caste lines, communal lines, so much illiteracy is there, so much inequality is there, how democracy is going to be successful in India. But we have proved them wrong by successfully holding elections periodically, and also change of government had been there with peaceful and constitutional means. So since 1951 till 2019 we had got 17 general elections which are performed very much successfully, and we proved the world that we are the largest democracy in the world, and other people must be jealous of us. So our journey of democracy is a successful one. तेणु आमर जो गणतंत्र जो यात्रा आम करे 1950 स्वाधीनता परठू 1951 मसीहा इलेक्शन परठू एपर्यंत आज पर्यंत, तेणु देखा गले भारत में सब बेले सरकार परिवर्तन घटी, शांतिपूर्ण उपाय घटी, तेणु आम एक सफल भाव में गणतंत्र को परिचालित करिछे। किंतु एते सफल हेले मध्य तथापि आमर किछि चैलेंज बा किछि आह्वान रही गणतंत्र प्रति। आउ एठी आमे 5टी मुख्य आह्वान को दृष्टिगोचर को आनिबा। फास्ट होची इनइक्वालिटी बा वैषम्य, सेकेंड इज इलिटरेसी बा निरक्षरता, थर्ड इज रीजनलिज्म बा आंचलिकतावाद, एंड फोर्थ इज नक्सलाइट प्रॉब्लम बा नक्सल समस्या, एंड फिफ्थ मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली द जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी बा लिंगगत वैषम्य। तेणु से विषय बर्तमान टिके डिटेल मु आलोचना करबी। So the first important challenge of democracy in India is inequality. So वैषम्य बा inequality. So you must know that democracy believes in one type of equality, that is political equality, but it ignores economic and social equality. But do you think that political equality will be successful without economic and social equality? The answer is no, because equality or democracy is a holistic concept. You cannot touch upon only one aspect of equality and ignore other two. All the three types of equality must go simultaneously. तेणु गणतंत्र सफलता पई राजनैतिक समानता जति आवश्यक सेमती सामाजिक समानता और अर्थनैतिक समानता आवश्यक। किंतु भारत में कौन देखा जाउची? भारत में आम देखुचे दुई प्रकार मुख्य वैषम्य देखा जाउची। गोटे हला सोशल इक्वालिटी बा सामाजिक वैषम्य, आ गोटे होची इकोनॉमिक इक्वालिटी बा अर्थनैतिक वैषम्य। So regarding social equality, you must aware of the social discrimination against the backward communities in India, the Dalits or the scheduled caste, the tribals, and the caste system is the major factor which creates social inequality in the country, and discrimination, large scale discrimination is going on against the Dalits and backward caste in the country. So do you think in that context democracy will be successful? So I would like to quote Dr. Ambedkar, what he said once in the Constituent Assembly. He said that democracy will be a top dressing on the soil which is basically anti-democratic. So democracy is a top dressing on the soil which is basically anti-democratic, because our society is anti-democratic, our society believes in inequality. So how do you think that democracy will be successful? So Ambedkar, although he was optimistic regarding the success of democracy, but he had his own opinion and he cast aspersions on the success of democracy in the country, and it has been proved true in various instances, whereby you will find day by day the atrocities on the weaker sections of the society are increasing rapidly. तेणु आम देखुचे जे सामाजिक वैषम्य देश में हटी ना, जदिव आम 70 वर्ष ऊर्ध्व स्वाधीन हेले तथापि एवं जातिभेद, आदिवासी संप्रदाय प्रति अविचार महिला मानक अविचार एगुड़िक समाज रे एबे भी रही तेणु ये गणतंत्र यहाँ हूँ गोटे मुख्य समस्या। सेकेंड इम्पोर्टाट चैलेंज हूँ सेकेंड इम्पोर्टाट इनइक्वालिटी वैषम्य हूँ अर्थनैतिक वैषम्य बा आम कहे इकोनॉमिक इनइक्वालिटी। तेणु जदि समाज रे सबु वर्गकर आर्थिक स्थिति समान न रहे ताहले जदि धनी गरीब तारतम्य जदि अधिका रहे ताहले गणतंत्र स्वाद कौ मान पाखु जीव गणतंत्र स्वाद केवल धनी मानक पई जीव। So it will be so if the society if there is unequal distribution of income and wealth in the country then democracy will be reduced only to suffrage for the rich and sufferance for the poor. The poor people will suffer because they will lie at the bottom of the society. So this huge gap between rich and the poor is a major challenge or you can say a major problem or hurdle in the success of democracy. In this context I would like to quote one famous French economist. His name is Thomas Piketty. So Thomas Piketty wrote a brilliant masterpiece and the title of his masterpiece was Capital in 21st Century, which was published in 2013. So in that book he has clearly highlighted how the neoliberal economic policies pursued after the onset of globalization has put more harm on the society by putting the poor again to the backyard. That means how the neoliberal policies after globalization has made wide gap between rich and the poor. So again Thomas Piketty and one of his associates they have published a paper in 2017 and the name of that paper is Indian Income Inequality from 1922 to 2014 and from British Raj to billionaire Raj. So regarding income inequality in India, Thomas Piketty and his associates they have clearly highlighted how income inequality in India is growing year after year and it became maximum in 2014. So he has clearly highlighted how 1% of income earners have earned 22% of national income of India in 2014. And again Thomas Piketty has given a famous equation, that is R is always greater than G. So R means return from investment, return from wealth, and G stands for growth or economic growth. So Thomas Piketty says that after liberalization or after globalization economic growth has been there, but that did not mean that the benefits of economic growth is being shared by each and every section of the society. Rather he has pointed out and he has proved from income data of India since 1922 to 2014 that the periods of higher economic growth has also been periods of greater economic inequality. That means the rich has become more richer and the poor has become more poorer. So that is the challenge before democracy in the country. So the richest 1%, so what is the latest data says? The latest data says that the richest 1% of Indians own 58.4% of wealth. The richest 10% of Indians own 80.7% of the wealth. So is it not alarming? Is it not creating a huge gap between the rich and the poor? तेणु धनी तेणु जो अर्थनैतिक व्यवस्था आम चली धनी मैंने अधिक धनी हो जाती आ गरीब मैंने अधिक गरीब हो जाए। जस्ट इमेजिन कर लास्ट 10% जो लोक रहिले तांको पाखरे केते वेल्थ रहइबो। द लास्ट 10% ऑफ इंडियन पॉपुलेशन दे ओनली ओन 0.2% ऑफ द वेल्थ ऑफ द कंट्री। सो दिस इज ए मेजर चैलेंज टू आवर economic system, that the country is growing, people are getting rich, the growth rate is there, but the benefits of growth is not percolating equally to every section of the society. So it has been estimated by one Oxfam report published in 2020 that the total wealth of 63 Indian billionaires is higher than the total union budget of India in 2018-19. भारतर 63 जन जो कोटिपति तांकर जेतिक संपत्ति रही 2018-19 बजेट रे केंद्र सरकार बजेट रे भी ताठू कम संपत्ति दर्शा तेणु भारत रे केमती सरकार पाखे कम धन रोचे व्यक्ति विशेष पर्टिकुलर धनी मानक धन केमती दिन को दिन बढ़ी बढ़ी जाऊँगी जहाँकि गणतंत्र प्रति एक मुख्य आह्वान. Now come to another basic challenge, that is illiteracy. So illiteracy बा निरक्षरता यहाँ हूँ गणतंत्र पे मुख्य चैलेंज. कहीं ना गणतंत्र कहले खाली लोक आसिक भोट देदेले सेटा गणतंत्र नुह. So democracy never begins and ends with people casting their votes. The people must actively take part in decision making. The people must actively criticize the government if the government takes any wrong policies. So it requires a minimum level of knowledge. So how the people get knowledge? Unless and until they become educated. So illiteracy therefore is a great challenge to democracy, because in this context I would like to quote one 18th century British philosopher. His name was John Stuart Mill. He said once, his opinion was that universal education must precede universal adult franchise. That means before giving right to vote to everybody, you must ensure that everybody is literate, that means everybody is educated. Otherwise, if you give right to vote to an uneducated person, his right to vote is wasted. He will misuse that right to vote, and the government that he elects, it will also be an unproductive government. So democracy involves certain amount of literacy or knowledge on the part of the people. Another quotation I would like to give, that was given by the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. He said that what is really needed to make democracy function is not knowledge of facts, but right education. So it is not mere knowledge of facts, but right education that is more important for the success of democracy. So Mahatma Gandhi believed that education will make democracy more successful. Now what the basic data says in India? The basic data in India says that 1/4 of our population are still officially illiterate. तेणु 25 भाग लोक भारत में से ऑफिशियली माने सरकारी डाटा अनुसार से निरक्षर. ताले से 25 भाग लोक को भली सरकार को चयन करे, से 25 भाग लोक कौन बुझे सरकार कार्यक्रम, यहाँ चिंतार विषय. Another thing was given, another data was given by National Statistical Office NSO for 2017-18, which says the average literacy rate is 77.7%, and male literacy is 84.7%, female literacy is 70.3%, and which gives a gender gap of 14.4%. So although we have improved, because in 2011 census our literacy rate was 74%, but in 2017-18 we have improved quite remarkably, and our literacy rate is 77.7%, but it is not sufficient. And another thing is, there is a huge gender gap between male literacy and female literacy. It is an alarming level of 14.4%. So this is how the basic data shows that how illiteracy is going to be a major hurdle for the success of a democracy. The another data was given by ESSER report. ESSER stands for Annual Status of Education Report, which was published in 2016, which shows the quality of education. It is not about literacy, but what is the quality of education? The quality of, regarding quality of education, it says that the 5th standard student cannot read the text of class 2. The 5th standard student cannot read the टेक्स्ट ऑफ तेणु क्लास 2 रो जो पिलार जो टेक्स्ट अच्छी ताको 5 क्लास रो पिला भी पढ़ी पारु नाही. तेणु ये जना पड़ुची एजुकेशन रो क्वालिटी कौन अच्छी बा गुणवत्ता कौन अच्छी. अनदर थिंग इज ए क्लास 4 स्टूडेंट इज अनेबल टू सॉल्व सिंपल एडिशन एंड सब्सट्रैक्शन. सामान्य मिशाण फेडाण मध्य क्लास 4 पिला को आसुनी. तेणु यह हूँ आजिका देशर स्थिति जे आमे खाली लिटरेसी रेट कथा कहूने, ता सहित आम कहूचे जे एजुकेशन बा शिक्षा जो दिया होची स्कूल मानकरे, पर्टिकुलरली गाँ गहली स्कूल मानकरे, से शिक्षार गुणात्मक मान सब कौन अच्छी. तेणु गुणात्मक मान देखिले यह बहुत तलकू अच्छी. तेणु एथिरे विभिन्न सबू सोसाइटी इज होली रेस्पॉन्सिबल, द गवर्नमेंट इज रेस्पॉन्सिबल, द सिविल सोसाइटी इज रेस्पॉन्सिबल, द पीपल आर आल्सो रेस्पॉन्सिबल. सो it needs a concerted effort so that we can bring literacy back and to make democracy successful. Now let us come to the third challenge of democracy in this country. The third important challenge is regionalism बा आंचलिकतावाद. आंचलिकवाद कहले कौन आंचलिकवाद कहले कौन से एक निर्दिष्ट अंचल को अहेतुक भल पाइबा आउ सारा देशर स्वार्थ को भूली जिबा. So regionalism stands for deep affection or deep intimacy towards your own locality and ignoring the welfare of the rest of the people in other parts of the country. That means your loyalty is not with the country, rather your loyalty is with the locality where you reside, that is known as regionalism. So regionalism is definitely a narrow minded ideology. It is a belief system which is dangerous not only for the integrity of the country but also for the democratic fabric of the country, because if you show deep affection towards your own locality and forget about the interest of the country, you are not only harming the people but also you are also going against the spirit of democracy in the country. No doubt India is a diverse country, India is a pluralist country, but that does not mean that you will get a free license to campaign for your own locality and if possible you can claim to get away from India. So it cannot happen. So in this context regionalism is a broad phenomenon which takes different shapes. So regionalism can take 5 important shapes. It can be the demand for secession from Indian Union, that means breaking the Indian Union. What happened in Khalistan movement during 1980s, what happened in Jammu and Kashmir during 1990s, or what is going on in most parts of the northeastern states of India. They want to dismantle the Indian Union and declare themselves independent. That is the extreme form of regionalism. Second expression is demand for separate statehood, and you know how states are growing in India, and the latest addition was Telangana, and who knows in coming days more and more states will be added. So this growing demand for separate statehood, and third is the demand for full fledged statehood, that means transformation from union territory to full statehood status. And fourth important expression is interstate disputes, and interstate disputes can be mainly on the basis of 2 criteria. One is on the basis of boundary, second is on the basis of distribution of river water. So you must be knowing how Odisha is at loggerheads with most of the neighboring states regarding boundary and also with distribution of river water. The latest example is the distribution of Mahanadi water between Odisha and Chhattisgarh. And the last one, the fifth one is the son of the soil principle, Bhumiputra Niti. So son of the soil principle is the dangerous principle which is pursued by many states to give the benefits of job and education to its own native citizens, and to have a stepmotherly attitude to those who came from outside. तेणु कौन एक राज्य जदि एभली एक व्यवस्था फॉलो करे जो थे कि निज राज्यर लोक सब सुविधा दिज्व, बाहर राज्य जी आसो घोड़ी दिज्व, ताको आम कहे भूमिपुत्र नीति, जोटा कि महाराष्ट्र रे शिवसेना बहुत आगुरी करूला एवं भी करुच्ची, आउ नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टेट रे बा उत्तर पूर्वांचल आम ये सब देखा पाचे. तेणु एगुड़ी है expressions of regionalism, say how regionalism is expressed. Then what are the causes why regionalism grows? There are different causes, and the most important is lack of balanced socio-economic development, whether it is education or health care facility, or whether it is income or employment or abolition of poverty. So you will find wide difference among the states. While Kerala and southern states are more advanced in social indicators, the North Indian states they are lagging behind. The western part of India is economically more advanced compared to the eastern part. So this creates an imbalanced situation which paves the way for the growth of regionalism. The second is awareness of the people on being neglected. तेणु लोक मैंने जदि अवेयर हो लोक मैंने जाग्रत हेले जे तांकू केंद्र सरकार अवहेला करुच्ची ताहले से माने आंचलिकवाद प्रति मन बढ़ेबे. So if the people, so suppose why there is regionalism in eastern part of the country, why northeastern states they show more regionalism, because they feel that they are being neglected by the central government. The third important cause is personal and selfish ends of politicians. So most of the politicians they become selfish and they spill the venom of regionalism in order to win elections. तेणु निर्वाचन जितिया बहुत राजनीतिक नेता माने से माने आंचलिकतावाद विषय लोकों को बुझाती बा आंचलिक दल सृष्टि करती जहाँद्वारा कि देशर गणतंत्र प्रति आघात पहुँचे थाए एंड लास्टली द क्रिएशन ऑफ स्टेट्स ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ लैंग्वेज तेणु भाषा भित्तिक राज्य गठन यहाँ आमर आंचलिकतावाद को प्रोत्साहित कर भाषा भित्तिक राज्य गठन 1956 मसीह भारत में स्टार्ट है आफ्टर द स्टेट्स रिओर्गानाइजेशन कमिशन वी हैव अडॉप्टेड दिस क्रिएशन ऑफ स्टेट्स ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ लैंग्वेज सो if you go on creating states on the basis of language, how many states will be there? Because we have got only 22 official languages in India. But many people do not know that in India we have more than 1000 languages. So if you go on creating states like this, there will be more than 1000 states in India. So can you manage with those states? So this creation of states on the basis of language, that is also a dangerous principle which was followed by the then Prime Minister and later on by many succeeding prime ministers, but it actually germinated this regional aspirations among the people. So this is how regionalism is also another threat to our democratic system. Now let us come to the fourth important challenge of democracy, that is the Naxalite problem. So Naxalite problem basically sometimes it is known as Naxalite, sometimes it is Maoist, sometimes it is known as left wing extremist, but the crux of the matter is same. So what is Naxalism? So Naxalism is a variant of left wing extremism challenging the state and its collective apparatus. So यहाँ हूँ एक वामपंथी चरमवादी एक व्यवस्था जोटा कि राष्ट्र विभिन्न उपादान को चैलेंज खोलाखोली आह्वान करे आउ यह हिंसार ही विश्वास करे. So it has been a gravest internal security threat to the country. So Naxalism has become a severe internal threat. तेणु देशर आभ्यंतरीण सुरक्षा यह एक प्रमुख आह्वान. यह भारतर पूर्वतन प्रधानमंत्री डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह कहते ताले जो नक्सलवाद यह कौठू ये आदर्श कौठू आसिला. यह आदर्श तत्कालीन आमर चीन जे थिले चेयरमैन कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी माओ जेडंग से ही कही जे पावर फ्लोज फ्रॉम द बैरल ऑफ ए गन. Again Mao Zedong was popular in saying that guerrilla warfare is the strategy by which we can change the government. So in India this Naxalite movement it has spread to different parts of the country, particularly West Bengal, then Odisha, Chhattisgarh, to certain extent Andhra Pradesh and your Maharashtra. They are reeled under Naxal menace. Now how the Naxalism, the idea grew? The idea originated from Naxalbari in a village in West Bengal in 1967, and the founders of the Naxal movement were Charu Majumdar and Kanu Sanyal. So later on these Naxalites they spread and to different parts of the country and formed their own associations, but in 2004 they formed a new association known as CPI Maoist, Communist Party of India Maoist, and different Naxal leaders you must be knowing who come in daily news, Ganapati in Andhra Pradesh and Sabyasachi Panda in Odisha, they spearheaded the movement to certain extent. So as many as 9 states in India they reel under Naxal menace, and again you will find this there is also the concept of urban Naxal. So today in 2016 onwards we find this सहरी नक्सल यही कथाटा बर्तमान पदा को आसी जहाँद्वारा कि विभिन्न शिक्षानुष्ठान जो मैंने पाठ पढ़ाऊँ शिक्षक हूँ छात्र हूँ द राइटर्स इवन द जर्नलिस्ट they are now supporting these Naxal activities and they are popularly now called as urban Naxals, and they are also another threat to our democracy because Naxalism always believes in violence. And different causes are there: land alienation from the poor, poverty and unemployment, development induced conflict. These are responsible for the growth of Naxalism. And lastly, the last challenge of our democratic system is gender inequality, lingagata vaishamya. So here, as you know, the male female difference, discrimination against women, because we believe in a patriarchy which is a threat to our democratic system, because democracy believes in equality, but we believe in inequality because we discriminate against women. So, here one the famous Nobel laureate of India, Professor Amartya Sen, he has outlined 7 forms of gender inequality in the country. That is, first is mortality inequality, second is natality inequality, third is basic facility inequality, fourth is special opportunity inequality, fifth is professional inequality, sixth is household inequality, and fifth is seventh is ownership inequality. So, mortality inequality माने जन्म हैला परे केमती गर्ल चाइल्ड को अविचार करा जाउची, natality inequality अर्थ माँ पेटरे थिला बेले केमती भ्रूण हत्या करा जाउची, बेसिक फैसिलिटी माने हेल्थ और एजुकेशन रु केमती तांको वंचित करा जाउची झियो पिला मानकु, स्पेशल अपॉर्चुनिटी हैला विभिन्न प्रकार हायर एजुकेशन रे बा उच्च शिक्षा रे केमती वंचित करा जाउची, प्रोफेशनल इनइक्वालिटी हैला विभिन्न प्रकार इंजीनियरिंग हो कि आईएएस आईपीएस ए भली पदर केमती महिला मानक संख्या कम थाउची, हाउस होल्ड इनइक्वालिटी हैला घर भितर केमती झियो पुओ झियो भितर भेदभाव करचंती पेरेंट्स माने, आउ ओनरशिप इनइक्वालिटी हैला केमती पुओ होची सबूर मालिक झियो पाखरे किछि रहइबो नाही काना बापा चली गला परे सब किछि पुओ को मिलुची। तेणु एई सब एई भली 7 प्रकार इनइक्वालिटी कथा जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी कथा अमर्त्य सेन कहिसंती आ तांकर गोटे एस्टिमेट से करचंती जा टाइटल गोटे 1990 मसीहा पेपर से करथिले सेटा हला द फेनोमेनन ऑफ मिसिंग वुमेन, निखोज महिला। से निखोज महिला कथा अमर्त्य सेन बाहर कले आ से गोटे एस्टिमेट करी कहले जे थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड 100 million women are missing, and in Indian context it is 37 million. So, that is also another cause of concern, and this basic data itself proves how discrimination is going against women. Look at the sex ratio, look at the child sex ratio, maternal mortality rate, and also gender female IMR, gender gap in literacy. So, these data shows how discrimination is going on against women. So, this is for today's class. Thank you.